When I was here, I think the biggest difference is probably that we lived in Fant and Peyton instead of Goen and Fraser. And a lot of current students are horrified to find out that we had community bathrooms instead of suite-style rooms. But the rooms were so much nicer. They were really big, and the closets were nice, and they had actual movable furniture. So I think the living situation was a lot better. It was also closer in terms of getting to class. I feel like it was a shorter walk, and it was more sort of in the central part of campus. As far as the academic side goes, there are certainly different classes now because a lot of the classes evolve as the people who teach them change. And so, I mean, there's always been AP chemistry, but there are other sort of elective classes that didn't exist then that do now, and vice versa. The rules? It's different, certainly, but so few of the teachers that I had when I was a student here are still here that, except for the fact that like Hooper is familiar and the cafeteria is familiar, it's not strange or anything because it's not like I'm, for the most part, working with people that taught me. Always. Every year there are students that I think would be in a particular friend group that existed when I was here. You know, like that kid would have been part of the group that was really into math competitions, or that kid would have been part of this group, or that kid would have been part of this group that was really into music or whatever. That definitely happens every year without fail. I think probably coming to MSMS was sort of the biggest eye-opener, and I think most of my students experience really similar things, that most of us come from small towns and little bitty schools, and you are the smart kid in your class. And then to come to MSMS and not be the smart kid, but one of a whole collection of smart kids, in some ways I think was intimidating, but in other ways it was really refreshing to be able to have conversations about things that would have been seen as way too nerdy or way too uncool in Macomb, Mississippi, that here were just everyday conversations with my peers. After MSMS, I started at New College in Florida, and I only stayed there for 1 year. Suggestions, seniors, when you go on your college visits, make sure that school's in session and don't do those over winter break. Bad idea. And I got there, and I still have friends from there, but I didn't really enjoy the environment very much. So I transferred, I went to the University of Mississippi and got a bachelor's degree in chemistry there. So my friends from Florida that I have kept in touch with are largely people from sister schools. So I had friends from the South Carolina school and friends from IMSA, the Illinois school, and a lot of us who had gone to math and science schools sort of gravitated towards each other. When I transferred, I was pretty much friends with the same people I had been friends with here, because a lot of those same people went to college at Mississippi State or Ole Miss, and so we were all pretty close still. Definitely prepared, in some cases over-prepared, and it was sort of both a blessing or a curse. I don't think I really had any classes that I had to study for with any particular effort until probably my junior year. I was very well prepared for college. I don't want to say it gave me a false confidence, because I don't think that's quite right, but I think it unfortunately gave me the opportunity to slack off on study skills for a couple of years, so that when I had to start really digging into things again, it was not pleasant. I feel like we had far fewer extracurriculars, clubs and things when I was a student at MSMS, but I was an officer in the Alpha Theta. I was one of the math tournament chairs, super nerdy things like that. I was in the Blue Notes before they were the Blue Notes, so I was in the choir. The designation of Blue Notes came considerably later, but yeah. Oh gosh, Dr. McNeil. So Nancy McNeil was the original chemistry teacher hired at MSMS. And I took chemistry as a 10th grader, and back then at Macomb High School, students typically took biology in the 9th grade, then anatomy and physiology in the 10th grade, and then chemistry in the 11th grade. But my older brother graduated from MSMS in '93, and he was adamant that I take chemistry as a 10th grader and take AP chemistry as a junior at MSMS. And so I did, and I really liked chemistry when I got here, but Dr. McNeil was funny and smart and a little bit irreverent. She wasn't like any other teacher I had ever had, and so she had this really sort of inspiring combination of being really good at her job, but also being approachable and relatable and fun. Oh gosh, so after I graduated from Ole Miss, I joined the Mississippi Teacher Corps, and I taught in Tallahatchie County for 2 years. And after that, I went to graduate school at the University of Missouri and got a PhD in chemistry, and worked in a lab for a couple of years, did a postdoctoral fellowship, and then since then, I taught at Meridian High School for 1 year in Mississippi, and then I moved west, and I taught at Animo Ralph Bunch Charter High School in South Central Los Angeles, and then I taught at a prep school in Phoenix, Veritas Preparatory Academy, before coming back here to teach. Miss Barham actually sent me a message when Dr. McNeil got ready to retire and said, you were her student. You've said before that if a position ever opened and the timing were right, you would like to come back. So there's a position open, you should apply. And I did, and so here I am. That always kind of makes me chuckle a little bit, because I have my ideas about why we are the #1 faculty, and I really think it's some combination of the fact that we all have advanced degrees. I mean, MSMS doesn't hire instructors that don't have at least a master's degree. And so in a typical high school, 80% of the teachers only have bachelor's degrees. So I think maybe the practices of having a highly qualified faculty at MSMS make us more able to be the #1 faculty. But yeah, mostly I just think it's funny. I feel like one of the best things that MSMS does is open students' eyes to differences, and whether those are differences in the peers that they encounter at MSMS versus the peers that they had at their home high schools, or whether it's having access to Cal 2 or Cal 3 or AP Chemistry or whatever classes they don't have, or those really unique experiences like the research program or the mentorship program that gets students exposed to potential careers at an earlier stage. I think that the best things about MSMS are the doors that are opened in whatever area. So I teach AP Chemistry, which has a reputation of being one of the hardest classes at MSMS. And I would agree, both as someone who took AP Chemistry at MSMS and now as the person who teaches it. I think that is largely the nature of the class. and the requirements set forth by the College Board. But I think also because our students come from 8, 10, 12, 15 different schools in the same class, there are that many different backgrounds that have to be accommodated. And so where kids who take introductory chemistry and then AP chemistry at the same school, their teacher knows exactly what they learned the previous year, and all of those students have sort of traveled as a pack, and we don't have that luxury. So we spend a lot of time covering ground that may or may not have been covered last year, and I just don't know, but I need to sort of equalize all of those backgrounds, which makes the class really pretty difficult. We have a lot of material to cover in a short amount of time. I think sort of the end of year stuff for the seniors, the senior picnic and senior recognition and graduation all are always very nostalgic for me, because I think about the people that I went to school with, and at this point, relationships, friendships that have been maintained for 25 years without any breaks, and other friendships with people that I kept in touch with and then lost touch with and then rekindled those friendships. And just to know that another generation of students will have those same experiences.